And welcome to a brand new episode of the 60-Second Car, the podcast that covers every single moment of the entirety of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Today we're talking about It's episode kind of, but minute 60. We're 1 hour in. Daniel, do you know what time it is?
Would you mind letting me know? I don't have a watch or anything.
It's mother flipping diesel time.
60-second
Welcome back to the 60-Second Car. I didn't introduce us at the beginning there. I was kind of distracted by erasing my whiteboard because I like to keep notes as we do these to make sure that like it helps my editing later. Even though most of the time I'm like not accurate in some of these things, so I'm just gonna put
down on here?
Squiggly. I'm like, oh, we start the podcast at this time in the time line, and then we go, and then we dive really deep into the darkest timeline. Of course, that's why we have facial hair. And then, you know, that way when I go back to the real timeline where things aren't quite as dark, but still like just as miserable, you know what I mean? I get to reflect back onto what we did.
Are you okay, Dan?
I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Anyway, hi everybody. My name is Dan. And joined as always by my co-host with the most boast, Mr. Daniel. Hello.
Supreme me. Hello.
How was your week?
I had a busy week and some change.
All
in all good, I would say. I went to one of the promised lands since we last spoke.
The promised lands. You went to Race Wars.
I did, more or less. I went to Florida, specifically theme parks in Florida, one of which was Universal Studios Orlando.
So you're saying at one point, each of us at the same time were in the locations of the first two movies?
Yeah. Isn't 2 in Miami?
I don't remember. Honestly, it probably is. I don't remember though.
And I think those are like very different areas of Florida. But anyway, we were both in the states wherein the first 2 movies took place. So hell, if we wanted to, we could have timed it so we were both on the ride at the same time.
We could have. We absolutely could have.
You would have just had to like get on the tram part in LA and like really like time it out. Like, go now. Like, oh, I don't have a fast pass.
Could we plan for the future to do a world tour of all the locations they did Fast and the Furious movies at?
Oh my god, that's gonna be so expensive. The last one alone was like 9 places, including I think Antarctica or just Snow Place.
Yeah, do you think it's the same place that 8 took place in?
That would make sense, but you know.
Snow Place, Ice Place.
Snow Place like home. So we went to Universal, and after doing other stuff, but Katie Bear and I, being the fast monsters we are, dragged my father onto the Fast and Furious ride, and he hated it. So I need a new dad now. So if you want to be Daniel's new dad, please write to 60secondcar@gmail.com. Give us your application. How good's your mustache? That's really what it comes to. Do you want to be my dad? You have a good mustache.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he hated the ride. He just wasn't into the whole like being surrounded by screens and a shaking van deal. And then later we went on King Kong, and he's like, "That was the same ride." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty great though, right?" Had a monkey. But yeah, so we went on the fast ride, and the LA one has it built into a tram ride, but in Florida, it's got its own queue, it's got its own building, and while you're in line, there's Ludacris on screen, and he's telling you like he's interacting with some poor person who's got to be there to like interact with the screen like she's actually part of the ride, and clearly her lines are canned. She's like, "Oh no, Ludacris, here comes another group. Are these guys are also family?" And of course, every time they said family, Katie Bear and I echoed family. Much to the confusion of my father and the annoyance of those around us. The ride is the same. It's kind of a mess. You're on a party bus that has to, for some reason, go through like a freeway and get away from bad guys. And
Are
It's
they on
stupid,
the? Are
but
they on? Is it the same? They're on like a bed, like a truck bed, yelling at you while you're going through the ride.
yeah, and Dom comes in holding on the, like, landing strips of a
Yeah.
helicopter, which is, like, physically impossible for, like, the size of a helicopter,
Uh-huh.
but that's actually so we have a room key that, has the Fast Furious ride on it, and it's just, like it's that art. It's him holding onto the helicopter as it explodes behind him, but The Rock's just standing there, probably getting incinerated, just
Wait,
like
did you
Dom would
stay in
want.
a Universal hotel?
So, because my dad is a veteran, he gets crazy good deals on, like, hotels from, like, certain outlets, and one of them is, like, Universal, so we got this really good deal on a hotel, and all the cards had, like, Universal rides on them, so or properties, so I think there was a Grinch one, there was, maybe I don't even Spider-Man, because over there, they still just have Marvel too, and then yeah,
Mm.
so then this one has the Fast thing on it, and I snatched it, and I said, "This is my key," and my dad's like, "It's got my name on it," and I just stared at him for a long time, and then I was like, "It's my key."
You guys have similar names,
Well,
right?
if you're just tapping into a door, it's not gonna be like, "You're not the right Cordova."
It's not? It doesn't do that?
No, it's not that fancy of a hotel, but it is
You
a
mean you mean Ramsey and Tej didn't program something for that to work?
they didn't use God's eye to let us in.
Oh, right,
So
God's eye.
one very stupid thing I felt like I had to do as we were exiting the ride. They had this machine there where you can print out your own license to race. So I did mine, and you put in your driver name, the date it's issued, which is the date it was. So this was on November 17th, and then you can
Mhm.
change your status of your license to active, revoked, or what I picked, wanted. Daniel is wanted. I forgot to put a surname, so my driver's name is just Daniel. And it's got a QR code, which if you scan that, takes you to a universal page just about the ride.
Is that like
And you-
McLovin? Didn't McLovin not have a surname?
yes, this is my McLovin. Like, oh shit, I just realized it's not valid. I didn't sign the back of
You
it.
didn't sign it.
Ah, I'm not legally
God,
wanted yet.
is mine signed? Do you sign the back of your credit cards?
I actually just got my credit card flagged for fraud.
Mm.
So my
Is that
current one is
because
not.
you were in Florida?
No, weirdly. I got a text from my bank that I ignored for a while that's like, "Are you trying to make a purchase on walmart.ca?" I'm like, "Canadian Walmart?" No. And then they're like, "All right, cool, your card's been deactivated." I was like, "Oh, okay. Thanks for that, I guess." So,
Damn.
actually, I reviewed my other cards and they're not signed, and that one wasn't either. But maybe.
Yeah, like for the longest time, there was always a thing that was like I was told by like people that were I don't know, this must be like an early 2000s, late 90s thing maybe. Where you people would put CID on the in that section, the signature
Mhm.
section. And then for the longest time nobody really asked to see my ID when I used it. And then one time somebody did and I was like, I don't want them doing this anymore. I'm taking this off. I'm just gonna sign it from now on.
When I was a cashier, I saw that a lot, but yeah, I never asked for the ID. People just like
Yeah.
showing, like they'd swipe their card and like lay it on the counter, and I would just like leave it on the counter because I was like, "We've
I
got this, and you do it
remember
yourself."
I remember when I was a cashier and we had like a policy to see ID on like credit cards, not like ATM cards, but like credit cards.
Hmm.
And like almost every time I did it, it was like, it was a hardware store in a, somewhat upscale town, I guess. Um, every time I asked and I looked, they would thank me. Did you ever get that? They were like, "Oh, thank you for checking my ID."
We didn't check IDs for any cards, but we did for checks,
Ah,
and
yeah,
no one liked it. Everyone was pissed. They're like, "My information's on the on the check." I was like, "Yeah, but we have to make sure it's current." And they usually get mad because people have checks for years and years and years and don't update that shit. So they would be like, "Well, it hasn't matched. Sorry." So then they get mad at us.
well, first of all, it's always been a photo ID that would confirm your identity. So them being pissed about that is weird. But
Mhm.
also, yeah, I remember taking checks. Do people still write checks at stores?
At store, actually,
Because
My wife.
we're like several steps removed even from when you and I were doing it.
So Katie Banner and I actually were just talking about a very specific version of check writing. So we both grew up with our parents in the military. And as such, like, I don't know if you've ever been on like a base where people can go and like where they generally just like live. They have
Like a
commissaries.
commissary and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, the commissary. So as you walk into a commissary, and they might still have them, there's a spot off to the right, just inside the door, where people start their checks. So
Mm.
they put their name, they sign it, they where they're spending it, memo, all that stuff. All they need to do at that point when they get to the register is put in the like total. So you walk around with a signed blank check while you grocery shop. And for some reason that saves 12 seconds. That is so crucial that everyone has to do it. So, but we remember growing up with our parents would always stop us as we're going in to go fill out their checks. That's like the last time I saw a lot of checks. Now at a store, I don't know. I mean, I haven't cashiered in a long time, but even then, I think we got a check twice a week.
Yeah. I would say in the last, like, I don't know, several years of memory, I think I remember one check being written in front of me. And I for some reason, I don't really, it didn't really bother me, but you can, and maybe it's a Los Angeles thing too. People were visibly angry that this person was writing a check and taking up some time. I was like, it's going to take an extra minute, sure, but what the heck? What is going on here?
So we might actually kind of. So I have not received a check in a long time. Our apartment has an app where you can pay everything.
Yeah.
But they recently started charging us a fee to pay via their own app. So we're like, that's dumb. It's your app. They should swallow the cost of that because it shouldn't be on us. But if we write a check, we don't have to pay that fee. So we're making our landlord do the work of cashing our check.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that we write 12 checks a year, and they're spite checks.
Yeah. I remember having to pay rent in money orders.
Ooh.
Yeah. And my roommates would I'd get the money order. I'd go to like Rite Aid or something, get the money order. But my roommates would pay me in cash. I didn't have the cash. So I would take partial cash and the rest on like a credit card or debit card and pay the person at Rite Aid in this like three different currencies, not currencies, but three different payment methods to then get two different money orders because they maxed out at like $500 or something. Because our rent there was like 1,000 at that point or something like that, and I had to get two different money orders. One was like 500, and one was the rest. And then had to walk home because it was like, I don't know, a quarter mile away. I didn't have my 10-second car, my 60-second car. So I had to walk home basically with $1,000 of cash in my pocket because like that's kind of how money orders work. Is it's a check, but it's worth just directly that cash. It's not like you can just cancel the check, or cancel the money order, that is. So I'd walk home with that much money in my pocket and then have to walk another block because my landlord didn't live in our apartment complex. He lived in a different one that was just a couple streets over. And then drop that through his door, his mailbox. And I was so irritated by the whole ordeal it was that took me, upwards of like an hour 15 to pay rent every month.
Was this the preferred method, or is this just like this?
It was
is
the only
an
method.
Option? Okay, wow.
Like that, I was like, I have checks. Can I write you a check? He's like, no, it has to be money order. Because maybe he had a past. He was an older guy. Maybe he had a past of having people bounce checks on him and he didn't want to deal with that. But like, that's just the cost of doing business. Because like 90% of the time they're not going to bounce. So what the hell?
Yeah.
It's so annoying. But yeah, that is for. I know there are people that are in their early 20s / maybe younger that listen to this podcast. You have no idea what we're talking about, and that's okay. Fine. All right. Now I can just tap my phone at a ATM, whatever, a card reader machine, and everything's paid for. So, it's just the world we live in. That's what I was saying about like several times removed, because like now we have chips, which was the next step after swiping cards, and then we had tap. You can now tap it, and you can then do it. Now it's 3 times removed, I guess. You can use your phone to just tap there too. And
We
so
could
I
do
was,
your Apple Watch. I see people do that, and that seems weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do
It's
you need the
like
phone now?
it's one of those things where people have been so worried about security and people stealing money and stealing their credit cards and all this stuff for so long, and now likely people just come up and tap your phone if they wanted to, right? Or tap your watch or whatever it might be and
I
grab
think
something
about that
off of that.
all the time.
Do
Whenever
you?
I'm at like an event where there's like a shitload of people, like a festival or concert or something, I just imagine that somebody could just walk around with some little thing and just like, like gently like raise people's butts or purses or whatever, and just like somehow get all their credit information and then just like, you know,
Yeah. Because
run
you
off
have
into the distance.
to pay for something, you have to activate it on your phone. But at the same time, it still has that technology there. So anybody with like any type of technological prowess could probably crack that, maybe.
Well, like you have to activate it on your phone. You don't turn your card on. Your debit
Right.
card or credit card's just like there.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it like declines like a payment or whatever, you still have probably have the information.
hmm
Oh man. Yeah, yeah. We sound old right now, I think. Do we sound old?
Yeah, of course. We always sound old.
I mean, that's true. We are talking about a series that is 22 years old now. So
Yeah, should
there
we
is
talk
that.
about our near classic movie now?
Near classic? What is classic? 25?
That's the classic rock's 25 years old. I'm applying the same rules because I'm a classic rock guy also.
I think I mentioned that to Katie. Like, classic rock is 25 years old now, and I think she referenced immediately, oh, so Sublime is classic rock now? And I'm like, why was that the first thing that came to your mind? You don't even listen to Sublime. So I found it interesting that she came up with that very quickly.
Well, like anything in like 98 would be classic rock, but Sublime is a weird pull.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it never really occurred to me that I liked old music until like Pearl Jam got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
which their whole thing is 25 years since the first release. So you have to be a classic rock band. But yeah, Green Day's in there now, and
Oh God, really?
yeah, they got in like right away too. They got in. Doesn't matter.
So we have so these are the hits in 1998.
Oh
Pretty
God.
Fly for a White Guy. Iris from the Goo Goo Dolls. Closing
I like that
Time
song.
by Semisonic. Inside Out by Eve 6. I don't think I know that song. Yeah, Given to Fly by Pearl Jam. Got You Where I Want You, The Flies.
I don't know that song at all.
I don't know a lot of these. 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies. 1 week since you
Handspin.
looked at me. Yeah. What else we got? Oh, Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys.
Intergalactic,
aren't
planetary, intergalactic.
Exactly. Without You from Van Halen, but that Van Halen was like they started as classic rock in my head for some reason.
They came out of the studio 25 years old.
Yeah,
Like them
exactly.
and Springsteen were just old from the start.
Sugar from System of a Down. Never There by Cake.
Oh man, System being eligible is really weird.
Yeah, it is. Smash Mouth is eligible.
Well, I mean, Rage Against the Machine got in the Hall of Fame this year,
Oh yeah, there you go.
but that they've been eligible for like 5 years or something.
That means Audio Slave's right behind them then.
Yeah, probably like 5 or 6 more years since that first album.
Audio,
Or
yeah.
until that
So
one, yeah. Well, I think Soundgarden is not in, but they're eligible.
Audio Slave came out the same year that this movie came out, 2001.
Wow, that seems right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we're old. So then, yeah, we were basically teenagers when this movie came out. Almost teenagers. I was almost a teenager. And then 1998. Yeah, I was not a toddler anymore, but I was a child. I was.
Is that a Britney Spears song? Not yet a child, not a toddler.
Not yet a child, not quite a toddler. Yes. Is that Britney Spears? I guess it is.
I think so.
I have no idea. Speaking of children and babies and stuff, it's the
Weirdly,
date.
yeah.
It's the date
Yeah.
episode. We're here. 60 at minute 60, 59:00. We have made it to cha cha cha.
Ooh la la. Yeah, so we're coming into like the whole thing about how the gang came together. Sorry, the team came
The
together.
team. It's not a
Eh,
gang.
And one of my first notes on this minute is Jordana Brewster looks so young in this
Oh yeah.
scene. And for the stuff they wound up talking about, it kind of makes it even weirder. But like, looks like an actual baby.
Oh yeah. She's incredibly young. And like and Paul Walker he's got a kind of a baby face, but
Yeah,
he looks very much like an adult.
it's true. It does.
He looks like an adult, and yeah, she doesn't. I mean, I don't know if this was a common hairstyle in 2001, but this is a hairstyle that like I would have seen like, my little sister wear when she was a child. So like
I for some reason thought you were talking about Paul Walker's hair.
no.
So when you said your little sister with Paul Walker's hair, I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Wavy and beach guy like. Yeah.
Looking like uncooked ramen.
Yes, quite. Yes. Oh my god, yeah. What the heck? Where'd you
That's not my.
where-
That's not an original thought. I've seen it memed somewhere. Specifically Justin Timberlake, but yeah.
Ah, okay. Uncooked ramen. Jesus Christ. Okay. Look at that. Look at that uncooked ramen. That's good. That's good. We have this movie's just, I'm gonna be honest, just full of candles. There's so many candles. This movie is just candles, dude. You don't really recognize it until you really slow it down like this, minute by minute. But there's so many gosh dang candles in this movie.
The stuff we clock is so interesting for us. I'm like, we're doing on appliances, candles, of course. But I mean,
this is like it's been coined the most in-depth movie review that you can get by analyzing it 1 minute at a time.
so I mean, candles here make sense. Candles in the Toretto Flophouse, absolutely not.
Well, during a party, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure, you could put
That's
some
a
candles.
hazard.
But yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. And considering that they are essentially pretty young, you think that also who this young has that many candles?
Katie Bear might have. We when
Really?
we moved in together, she was 22 or 23, and she came with a box of candles, like a large box of candles that we still have. And we've not gotten through that box. We have a lot more candles since then. So I could see her.
Yeah, but those are used for seances and sacrificing of people, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
All her witchcraft stuff.
I don't know why, but like whenever I see a lot of candles, I either think church or witchcraft stuff.
Not far off, either one.
I don't really think just living. We have candles. It's not like we don't have candles. But we have like one in the living room, maybe two, and then like two in the bathrooms, and that's it.
I have 3 within reach, I'm just realizing.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I have any here. That's funny. I don't know. I don't mind a candle smell, but like if it takes over the room, I'm like, I don't want it anymore. Get it away. It's done. I'm done. It's too much often.
You're tossing it out the window instead of just opening the window?
Yeah. Still lit.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I've seen where you live. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, still lit, You got to keep it lit, fam.
I think you're using this right. Yeah.
That's how that works, right? Okay, you're gonna have to help me out here. I don't remember everything they talk about in this at this table. I just remember the team thing.
I wrote down what they talk about because it's like she's saying it's a whole lot of history behind how the team came together, but really it's not. Vince and Dom grew up together. There's some history for you, I guess, because they mentioned third grade or something early in the movie.
Yeah, it's pretty
Letty
young.
lived down the street and was a car kid since she was like 10 years old. And then she turned 16 and that got Dom's attention.
Mm-hmm.
The line before that is Dom always had her attention. Then she turned 16, and he's like, then Dom got her attention. Yeah, so there's like a weird 16 cutoff consent thing, which then, adds to my theory that Mia's underage in this movie.
Well, right. Like they talk about being 16 and she's roughly 19.
IRL, she's 19. Actual age of character, unsure.
Right.
Now this is just a me thing. This still you have right now. He's enjoying a cup of coffee. It's 10 o'clock when they're on their date. So I guess if you're up for a date at 10 o'clock, but coffee seems like a weird choice still.
Yeah, so that's always been, I mean, that just in general, that's been a thing for me. It's like coffee after dinner is so common. But like, yeah, by the time you're finished with dinner, let's say at the earliest, it's still like 6 p.m. Like at the very earliest, it's like 6. I'm up all night if I'm having coffee at 6. That's crazy. But people have it all the time, and it's just a thing.
I learned on my trip with my dad and Katie Bear. Well, I've known this about my dad forever, but he's a coffee all day guy, and he like needs it to wake up, but he doesn't need it to stay awake. So he'll chug a cup at like 8 p.m. and then be asleep at 8:30. It doesn't like wake him up in the middle of the night. He's just like, I need it to wake up, and then after that, it becomes the water of the day. So this might be a move he does, but
I don't think so.
I clock it. I was like, oh, I can't. Nope. I have zoomies all night.
He is drinking it out of like one of my favorite mugs, though, which is just a cheap white ceramic mug. Give me that. Sit at a diner, cheap food, or maybe even just like crappy food, whatever. I'm happy. I'm into it. Yeah, this still right. By the way, what's going on with his face here?
I think this is when he says the line about then she turned 16 and then had Dom's attention.
I think so. That's just such a goofy smile. That's definitely gonna be. That's our thumbnail for that.
Of course.
Yeah. So I mean, they start talking about that, and then is there? I don't remember where we end here. I don't remember what the last line is. Does he do the whole like? Is this where he talks about how being friends with your brother is just a bonus? Is that this?
No,
one? That's the next one?
next minute.
Okay,
this one ends with her just being like, then Jesse and Leon just showed up.
Right.
That's your backstory. And bish bosh bash, that's the team.
And then this is the look that tells us that Brian and Mia will be together forever. Which you don't notice in the next. You'll never know in the next 2 movies, right? Does it? Oh, I guess they're not the next 2 movies. Not even until like the end of the movie after that. Do they really like get together,
Yeah, 4 feels like they're near each other, but
so 4 they essentially recreate this scene in 4 because in 4 they're looking for Dom and then the FBI picks her, or the LAPD, or one of them picks her up. I think it's the FBI because they go back to his to Brian's office, and Brian sees her in like the interrogation room or the waiting room or whatever, and just goes and like walks her out. She's like, "Oh, I gotta take her in for questioning into the other room," and then just walks her out. And then they sit at a diner and essentially have the most awkward conversation as you could imagine. And that's where she drops the line. Maybe you're the bad guy pretending to be the good guy, and then the rest, yeah.
It's like she saw this movie,
yeah. And then the rest of the movie happens, and then I think she finally like forgives him for a bunch of stuff because they go to like save Dom or something like that. Anyway, the 4th movie's weird. It has a lot to do with like this. It's the 4th movie, and they're finally reconciling what happens in this movie, which is many years later. So in like real life timeline, and maybe cinema has changed enough to where that wasn't as shocking back then. But if they were to do something like that now, I think people would be so confused because they would have forgotten what happened, or just pissed that they didn't reconcile that years ago.
Well, I think a franchise that does that to a degree, or did that to a degree, was like the first, I guess, 3 waves of Marvel shit.
Yeah.
They would just like introduce people who you haven't seen in a long time, and you're expected just to know what their deal is. But like these ones, they spell it out for you a little better.
Yeah. But that's kind of my point, is like, even in the Marvel movies, you saw like a solution to the problem in like 2-3 years, maybe. The amount of years between, let's look it up. Between the Fast and the Furious is 2001, and then Fast and Furious is okay, no, don't give me the series, give me the movie. Fast and Furious 2009, so 8 years later.
Okay.
I don't think I like that. I guess that's the only point I'm trying to make, is like, because then I was thinking the Marvel universe as well, but like in the MCU, you kind of got a resolution of like an issue or a problem with between two people in like at tops 4 years, at the most like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, or back then, it took them 8 years to get Brian and Mia back together, which is crazy. But also, yeah, I guess there's always the chance that that's due to the fact that nobody thought the series was going to go anywhere until maybe the third movie, kind of.
But then if you start thinking about the story timeline, which always gets us into trouble, how long in the world is 4 after 2? Because 3 is after, 7?
3 is after something like that, yeah. Well, no, it was after 7, and then they changed that again or something like that. Because it was supposed to be after 7 because Han was still alive, because he dies in Tokyo Drift. But then they retconned that again to where he didn't actually die in a later movie, like 8 or 9 or something like that. I think it was 9.
I think we've had this exact conversation, so forgive us, listeners and viewers. But in the credits of 7, he dies, and it's like that he dies. It explains how he died in 3, really, quote unquote.
But he didn't die.
But then in 9, which I just watched on a plane, is when it's revealed that Mr. Nobody staged everything. So
yeah, exactly.
He's watching the car. He's watching himself get shot in the face.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it like explodes. I think the car explodes or something. But yeah,
it was a gunshot. But yeah,
was it a gunshot? It might have been. I know that Letty gets shot in the face in the same exact like position and pose. So there's all that, which who knows? How did she survive? I don't know.
All you need is Dom to go up there and like wave his hand over wherever she was shot.
Oh my god,
that's how she survived.
That is he did some real Batman shit in that movie. he looked, because like, so it was 4 when they decided to change the whole thing. The second movie that Dominic Toretto really is in is when he gets powers. And it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
I've been trying to clock potential seeds that we could like extrapolate that he got his powers from in this movie, and we haven't really seen him do anything in a while. But like,
this movie's so normal.
Yep.
It's so normal. I mean, he barely gets wrecked in a car at the end of this movie and is all torn up.
That's where it starts. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he died. Maybe he died in some weird ghost of the Toretto family car like revived him with like superpowers or something like that.
What if Dom was dead but Brian was alive? And this is all like projections of somebody else. What if this is all like in Jesse's head?
Okay.
Whoa!
That is crazy. But you bring up a very interesting perspective. Like, from now on, we'll never see Brian in third person. So maybe the whole time we're watching the movies from Brian's first person perspective.
We're watching him see everything happen on the news while he's staying home with the kids.
Yeah. He's home with the kids. Oh my god. There is like a Instagram has been feeding me some like mashups of it probably comes from like 4 or 5 different movies of what if type things, like what if Brian was still alive, this is how he would enter the series again and stuff like that. And they cut like you know, some freeway scenes from 2, some like freeway scenes from 4, and then like the pulling up scene from, I don't know, 5 or it must have been later, so like 7 or 8. But he's also got like it also cuts to like probably scenes with like Jason Statham with the baby carrier in the back of the car. And he's swinging the kids around corners, driving fast down the freeway, and then it's him pulling up into the driveway. It's like, that's how Brian would come back into the series. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is not okay. I feel like we're bastardizing his life or his death right now. It's so weird. Oh man, the amount of conversations I've had about the fact that he's still alive and in the movies, but being dead in real life is just bizarre. Okay, anyway, we end on this frame here. I don't know what the last thing that's said in this minute. Do you know?
I think it's just about Jesse Leon showing up, because I have a line, the next line I have in the next minute I've written down. So
okay, so yeah, that makes sense. The next minute we jump into still here at the table. So because of that, we're gonna cut this episode right here. You'll see the next episode in a couple of days. Once again, thank you so much for watching and listening and reviewing and commenting and, you know, just like staring into one of our eyes. I don't know which one you've chosen, but that is your homework for now. So when you're watching these videos and watching these podcasts, choose one of our eyes, one of our sets of eyes. Not a singular eye. Choose one, and you have to stare into it for the full episode. And then comment and tell me if you succeeded. If you didn't, well, try again next episode. Now he's sucking the soul out of your body.
No, I froze again.
Yeah, right. With that being said, thank you all so much for being around, and we'll see you all next time.
Family.